Okay, so let's have a look at another example, okay? So this time the set of data is telling us the number of calls that motorists made to basically ask for roadside assistance in the month of December. So each one of these pieces of data represents a day in December, and this was how many people rang saying that they'd broken down at the side of the road and they needed someone to come and help them fix it. So we want to set up a frequency table for this set of data. So what do we do? What is the first thing we need to think about? Well, we need to find the smallest data value and the highest data value, okay? So the smallest is 28 and the highest is 217. And the difference between 217 and 28 is called that's right, it's called the range. So the range is 189. Basically, we've got 189 numbers between 28 and 217, and that is what we need to fit into our table, this range of numbers. So it doesn't make any sense, 189 rows. So how are we going to group our data so that our table is more manageable but still gives us meaningful information? Well, 189 is quite near to 200, and 40 goes into 200 quite nicely. It goes into there 5 times. So if we group our data so that between in each interval there is 40 pieces of data, that would give us roughly 5 rows. Okay, so that sounds quite reasonable in our table to have 5 rows. So let's start constructing the table. And we have the class interval. Sometimes it's also called data groups, or it might even be given the name of what it actually represents. It might be the number of calls. And then we want the tally, and then we want the frequency. Okay, so the class interval is grouping our data. The tally is counting it and ticking it off, and then the frequency is telling you how many are in each group. So remember in the previous example, we had to start our grouping with a multiple of the number we had in our group. So in this case, it would be a multiple of 40. Well, our smallest value is 28, so obviously we can't start with 40, but we can start with 0. And if we've got 40 data points in our grouping, that would be up to 39. And then our next group would start with 40 and count 40 on to 79. The next group would be 80. The next group would be 120, 160, and 200. Now if you can see, each one is one less than the multiple of 40, and then each time you start the beginning of the class interval with the multiple. Okay, and then basically you just start crossing off your data points and filling in your tally. So our first data point is 28, so that would go in this group, and our second data point is 122, so that would go in here, and our third one is 217, and that would go in there, and so on until you filled the table. Okay, so I have tallied all my data points and crossed them all off from here. So now I can add up how many are in each group. So in this group there is 1. In this group there are 5. In this one there are 12. This one 8. This one there's 4. And this one there is 1. And this should add up to the number of data points. So there are 31 days in December. We have 31 data points. So this should all add up to 31, and that's how you can check that you've actually done it right if this adds up to the number of data points that you have up here. Okay.